Yo, yo, yo. Yeah, it's your boy Yusef doing my first podcast. Now, this podcast is going to be very casual. I don't want to call it a test episode, but basically that's what it is. I'm just trying my hands at this podcasting thing. I've done a few podcasts in the past. I did an MMA podcast with a friend of mine some years back. Basically, we would watch the fights over the weekend, and then we would give our rundown. We would do post-fight analysis. We would do predictions and exciting fights coming up. It was a lot of fun doing that. This time around, it's just me sitting here. Um, Today, my theme is starting new things, right? Starting a new project, maybe changing locations, whatever it is that you're doing that is something new in your life. This episode is dedicated to that. I was thinking in my own circumstance here, why has it taken so long for me to do a podcast? Like, it seems like something I would be doing, like I would have been doing. Everybody and their mama got a podcast. Damn near. Shout out to my Chicago folk out there, damn near. Chicagoans will damn near you to death. Shout out to Chicago, the whole Midwest, Indiana, Ohio, and all that. So basically, even though I always wanted to do a podcast, I always created these excuses, right? Well, what are you going to talk about? You don't have the right equipment. Wait till you get a new camera, a new headphones, or a new mic, new laptop. Maybe you need to wait till you have a co-host or things that you want to talk about, specific topics. What's your podcast going to be about? I don't know. Your guess is just mine. But just like I'm someone with a particular set of experiences, and I believe that those experiences lend to maybe some interesting stories, a couple of anecdotes here and there. But I'm excited to be doing this for the first time. Starting something new is there's always a part of you that's a little bit nervous, right? Especially something so public like a podcast. Like, there's no point of doing this if I'm just going to record it and listen to it myself and I have to share. In any art where I'm calling this an art, whatever, but in any media, let me use the word media. You have to share it with an audience. And the way that audience responds affects a lot of things. It affects whether you're going to keep doing it or if I'm going to do it. Now, I'm always open to constructive feedback, but basically, I'm going to just have fun with this thing. I'm going to do my thing. You know what I'm saying? When I get bored, I hit on my drum. But I wrote down a few things here about starting something new, right? So like I said, there's always just a little bit of fear with doing something new, especially something so public. So we create a list of excuses why we can't do it. And excuses are really an expression of fear. I can't do it for this reason, that reason, and that reason. Meanwhile, all you're really saying is, I'm afraid, right? There's that feeling in the pit of your stomach. Oh, what if this shit is whack? Man, fuck it, man. I don't give a fuck. That's the thing. There needs to be a certain element of not giving a fuck in anything you're doing, right? Even if you need the participation of an audience, you just have to do your thing. People that fuck with it will fuck with it. People that don't fuck with it will keep it moving. And it's all good. It's not for everybody. I'm not for everybody. But I'm just doing this because it's been in my heart. It's been in my spirit it's been in my spirit for a few years now to do a podcast, man. You know, a lot of people asking me about J. Cole and Kendrick, and personally being someone that, I'm a hip hop head, the Jay-Z, Nas beef in the early 2000s, that was a monumental event in my life. When Ether came out, it's like my world changed. It's like there was like a shift. It's like when that eclipse happened, there was a shift, not just in the culture, but in the world. Jay-Z was my favorite rapper, and Nas was right there. Jay-Z, in my opinion. But Jay-Z, I gave Jay-Z the edge, you know, before Nas dropped Ether. Now, once Nas dropped Ether, we kept playing it on repeat. I remember a friend of mine from high school would be in this like raggedy car, and we just be playing. We just ride around the neighborhood just playing Ether, man. You know, the shit that make soul burn slow. Is he Dame Diddy, Dame Daddy, or Dame Dummy? Oh, I get it. You big and he's puffy. You know. And now fast forward, man, a little over 20 years later. I'm talking about this Jay-Z shit like it happened last year. It's been over 20 years now. Now, I must be honest, I haven't actually listened to J. Cole or Kendrick, so just take it for what it's worth. This is the opinion of someone who hasn't even listened to this shit. But I can voice my opinion on, like, how I feel about them as artists. Like, obviously, it goes without saying, J. Cole, Kendrick, two of the greatest to be doing it right now. Easily, two of the greatest to be doing it at this present moment. And possibly they're definitely in the list. They're definitely in like the list of the greatest of all time. For me, I give Kendrick a little bit of a bias, I guess, um, because I started listening to Kendrick before J. Cole. But I have so much respect for both of them. For me, it comes to a matter of preference. Because as far as technique, as far as what it takes to be a great rapper, they both have it. Who do you personally prefer? And for me, it's just Kendrick. I feel like, to me, Kendrick is one of the greatest rappers of all time. For me, I started listening to Kendrick at a point in my life when I'd start to give up on hip hop for real, because it got a little too, it was just kind of whack for me for a minute there. So I was kind of exploring different genres of music. And then Kendrick reminded me, oh shit, rap. Oh yeah, yeah, music for the people. So that's what I got to say about that. Now, if you want to hear me, like, my comedic take on this, you got to come see me at a comedy club, because I do have a take on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, J. Cole looks like he probably has great credit. He had health insurance growing up. He had meals a day. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, the dreads is not fooling me. Cut the dreads off, and J. Cole looks like he probably went to a private school. That's all I'm saying. Kendrick looks like he could be from the trenches. Good kid, Mad City, and all that. But I'm not here to roast rappers. Um, you know, I feel like beefs are great for hip hop. It's not only is it great for hip hop, but in my opinion, it's required to be considered a great. You need to beef with somebody that's great. You go down the list. Yeah, I get it. It can get violent. Biggie, Pac, a lot of and that's sad. That's horrible. But as far as rappers going at each other back and forth, that, for me, that's one of the best things about hip hop, is that rappers can use music words to settle their differences instead of violence. So when it's like they're beefing and the beef bleeds into the streets and now people are acting towards one another, for me that's like, come on, man, that defeats the whole purpose. The point is to be able to settle your differences without violence. Yeah, I am an advocate of nonviolence. That's why I had to get really good at it. Not boasting, but I've done um and when you learn how to fight and how to handle yourself, it makes you less likely to yourself in an encounter like that. Like I will like turn away from most encounters because I don't want to fight anybody at all, you know, unless it's like on the mat, jujitsu, you know, yeah, man, yeah, man, the art of rap battling. So I'm enjoying this so far, but I don't have a name for it. If you have any recommendations, hit me up with your recommendations and whatnot. Um, and one of the things I wrote down here was start before you're ready, right? A lot of times we create this we create this barrier, right? Oh, I'm not gonna start until X, Y, and Z is in place. Motherfucker, you're gonna be waiting for X, Y, and Z to be in place for the rest of your life. You're gonna be dead and X, Y, Z is not in place. If I was to sit here and say like I'm gonna wait until I have like the perfect microphone and the perfect headphones and the backdrop and the studio and the producer and the co-host and all that, man, I'll be waiting a long time. In the meantime, what I can do is practice. This is what we talking about here. Practice? We talking about practice? Yeah, I'm talking about practice, man. Shout out to AI, Allen Iverson. You know, yeah, that statue is it looks like a miniature. I mean, the man is 5'11", and they is how is the man taller than the statue? The statue is supposed to be a larger than life representation of the individual. If the individual is taller than the statue and the individual is only 5'11" to begin with, how do you call that a statue? Philly, you owe Allen Iverson a statue. We gave. Now I'm gonna include myself in Philly because I lived in Philly. I went to high school, so I'm part of Philly in this scenario. A fictional character, a massive statue in front of an art museum, and then we gave Allen Iverson a real life hero. A real life hero. We gave him a miniature. I just don't understand how that got through the entire process of approval and second approval and art design and this and that, and no one was like, hey, the statue looks like a trophy. It's trophies that are bigger than that statue. All right. If I'm taller than the statue, it should not be called a statue. That's all I'm saying. All right. That's what I gotta say about that. Because Allen Iverson did a lot for Philadelphia. All right, especially for short kings. Y'all said, yeah, I used to wear my number 3, Philly number 3 with the back with the answers on my feet. You know what I'm saying? In Southwest Philly. Yeah, I was one of them guys. So for me, Allen Iverson was a real life hero. I watched Allen Iverson go against Kobe at the Staples Center and beat them. He beat a dominant team in their prime with little to no help. It was like a modern day David and Goliath story that we were actually witnessing. And this is how we repay the man with the miniature bobblehead, calling it a statue. That shit is a miniature. You know what I'm saying? Scratch it. I demand a do-over. All right, Philly, you hear me, Philly? I don't know who the mayor of Philadelphia is or whoever the president of the Sixers is right now. I've been outside of Philly for a minute now, but yeah, that's not acceptable, man. We need to honor our heroes, you know? Because yeah, you can say, okay, Allen Iverson's been compensated financially. Isn't that enough? He's been immortalized jersey in the stadium. He's got the Reebok deal. He's good. What's the big deal? The big deal is the statue symbolizes something more than the statue. For me, is just here's someone who really went all out. It wasn't just about championships, but he really put Philly on his back. AI did that. He's not even from Philly. Neither am I. Shout out to Philly though. Cheesesteaks, Jim's, cheesesteaks. You know what I'm saying? If you're tourist, you can go to Pastor Gino's or whatever. But if you know what's up, you go to Jim's, holla at your boy, South Street. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but we're still on this theme today of starting new endeavors, right? Listening to me today to start something new. Maybe there's something in the back of your mind and man, it's been years. I'll do this. Maybe next year. All right, I'm gonna do it next year. And you're pushing 30, you're pushing 40, you're pushing 50, and you still haven't done this shit yet. Time is running down, bro. You know what I mean? I was that almost everything I'm doing now was something I wanted to do much earlier in life. You know, you go back to comedy. I've always wanted to be a comedian. Honestly, the first thing I knew I wanted to do was be a comedian. I remember vividly. I was 8 years old and we had an assignment at school, right? We had this assignment. We had to write a story. And basically, we wrote a book for a class. We would bind it and illustrate the cover, and I was so excited because this was fun for me. Just writing the story out and illustrating the cover because I like to draw. I've always liked drawing. And the title of my book that I wrote in the third grade was Mike the Comedian. Mike the Comedian, right? And when you write a story, you really write your story. I was Mike. Instead of calling Yusef the Comedian, I wanted to, be a little mysterious, so I named him Mike Comedian, but it was essentially me that I was writing about at 8 years old about being a comedian. One thing I didn't expect from that exercise is after the class, they called us all up and to read our stories in front of the class. And when it was my turn, I read about Mike, the comedian. He had a girlfriend. He was making money. He had a nice car. Mike, the comedian, had become successful. And I was reading the story. And after I finished reading, my classmates started to clap. Right? I got this clap. I got this clap, John. Yeah. That's what. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But at the time, I didn't expect it, right? It completely caught me off guard, the clapping. And it was the first time I had ever been the recipient of applause. No one had ever clapped for me in my life before this incident. So like the oh went out. I was like, oh, okay. So you can write and um you can get in front of people and recite what you've written, which essentially is what I do now. Almost 30 years later, I write jokes in my little notebook here. I get in front of a stage and perform what I have written. So imagine doing comedy a little earlier in life. They say Dave Chappelle started doing comedy when he started going to comedy clubs when he was 14, which means he probably started writing jokes when he was very young. You know, it takes time to be good at anything, but that time commitment, that to just like spend a lot of time on something, spend enough time on something to get good at it is hard. And personally, I've started and stopped so many things in my life. You get all excited in the beginning. Oh, I'm gonna do this podcast and it's gonna be great, and then you lose your enthusiasm. When you lose your enthusiasm, it's important to kind of like reset, to remind yourself why you started doing it to begin with. I remember with jujitsu, I lost my enthusiasm at some point. I started to get frustrated because I wasn't getting promoted. And then I reminded myself why I started doing jujitsu. Why did I start doing jujitsu? Because I wanted to be able to defend myself and defend others. That's why I started doing jujitsu. So even though I may have stayed at a certain belt for a long time, once I reminded myself why I started doing it, I was able to focus. I was able to lock in again, you know. And with comedy, for instance, yeah, sometimes I get a little discouraged. Sometimes you're like, man, fuck this shit, man. Sometimes you're like, fuck this shit. I'm gonna do something else with my time, bro. You know. Then I remind myself that this is something you wanted to do since you were a child, and you owe to yourself to keep doing it. You know. So again, what do you want to do? Really think about it. As you're listening to me, think about what you want to do that you haven't done yet. And instead of coming up with reasons why you can't do it, come up with at least one reason why you can. You know, I started doing comedy during COVID. I've been writing jokes for a while, and during COVID, obviously we had a lot of time on our hands, so I was like, man, let me sit down and write some jokes. Because there was no comedy clubs open, all I did was grab my tripod and I just recorded myself performing these jokes over and over, over and over again. Right? I record myself and I would listen to myself in my car and I would listen to it over and over again. I was like, oh, that part's good, that part's not good. Let me retool it. And then I remember when things started to open back up in 2021, a friend of mine, a musician friend of mine hit me. I was like, hey, I'm performing at this Irish pub in Pasadena. You should pull up. I was like, fuck it, man. I've been stuck in the house so long, man. Yeah, let me pull up, man. I haven't been out in a minute. So I was out there, and in my back pocket, I've been rehearsing comedy for at this point for weeks, just over and over again, just by myself. It would be great to have some feedback, to perform it in front of people. So I asked my friend, I was like, hey, do you think I've been doing comedy? Do you think it would be cool if I did some comedy after your music or something like that? And I was like, yeah, pull up. So I pulled up. I was listening to disco music. I was listening to disco music on the way out there because one of my favorite comedians said he likes to listen to disco music before he does comedy because it's upbeat, it gets him in a good mood. And one thing about comedy is like when you're feeling good about yourself, it that energy goes into the crowd, you know. So I'm in my car listening to disco music, heading to this pub in Pasadena. I'm just trying to like build up my confidence, really. At this point, I'm feeling very confident But the closer I get to the venue, it's weird. The closer I get to the venue, the more nervous I start to feel, right? So I get there. I'm not like very nervous, but I'm definitely a little bit nervous. And I get there, I asked the owner, I was like, hey, I'm a comedian. He probably thought I've been doing comedy for years or something, but he didn't know that this would be my first time ever doing comedy in front of people, right? So I was like, oh yeah, sure, go on after the music. It's cool. So my friend does his music shit, and he's been playing guitar basically his whole life. He's very experienced, just he knows how to. Then I come on after him, and I'm like, my set is so rehearsed, right? So I'm like, very good. Oh man, my opening joke was about COVID. What was it? It was I'm sick of it. I am sick of the sickness. But everywhere I go, it just seems like everybody's down with the sickness. That was my opening joke. And people started to laugh. So I was like, okay, thank God they're laughing. They're laughing. They're laughing. The only issue is at this point, I just was kind of stiff because I don't perform in front of a camera. So I wasn't as loose as I am now in front of an audience, but I just got through it. I did like 12 minutes. I did 12 minutes in front of these, and they were laughing at points. Um but after I was done with it, I was like, whew, I'm a comedian now, right? I've performed comedy in front of people and they laughed. I am therefore officially a comedian. Right? So after that, now my confidence is like, man, I'm the next Eddie Murphy. I'm the fucking shit. Wait till they get a load of me, you know? So I go back, I'm so excited. I'm writing more jokes. I'm like take me up. Maybe a couple months after that. She was like, hey, I'm putting on this like event at a park and you should pull up. And I was like, well, actually, I'm a comedian now. It was like, oh, hey, pull up, man. Yeah, you can perform. We're gonna have some other comedians. We're gonna have some music. So I go in there. I'm like, at this point, I'm the best comedian in the world, right? I'm feeling myself. I even managed to do a little bit of crowd work, and it was great. I did. People were laughing the whole time. Um, I was able to do my entire set. I felt good. I had fun. I had good feedback from people. So this is 2 shows in a row, right? I'm like, man. So now it's just like it's building, right? So in my mind, man, Eddie who? Richard who? Dave who? Man, they better get out my way. The confidence was it was just so high. Um, so I'm writing jokes, I'm writing jokes. And at this point, I'm like, man, I need a comedy club. These comedy clubs need to know about me. They need to know about the next greatest comedian ever to live. This is how high my confidence. So I by email tape from the picnic show. So I had emailed that to a few comedy clubs. Like, yeah, I'm a comedian and shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to like come through, do a show, whatever. And one of these comedy clubs, I'm not gonna name which one it is, but it's out in North Hollywood, right? So they emailed me back. They're like, "Oh yeah, for sure. We have an open mic actually. You should pull up." You know. And so I pull up. Right now, at this point, I have a system. Right, I'm listening to my disco music. I'm feeling myself. I go sit there. To me, I'm like, I'm the best comedian in here. So I'm not even talking to anybody. I'm just sitting there like this, watching everybody go up. I'm like, okay, that was good. That was all right. I go up there like, yeah, I am sick of it. I am sick of the sickness. But everywhere I go, it just seems like everybody's down with the sickness. Hey, y'all forgot to laugh. That's when y'all was supposed to be laughing. I did 5 minutes straight. Zero laughter. None. Zero. There was an applause at the end, but as a comedian, the laugh, that's what you're looking for. The applause was just like, all right, out of the way, who's next? It was that kind of applause. Oh, is this the math wasn't mathing. I had done 2 shows and I killed. These people, they don't know comedy. They're haters. They hating on me. After that show, I had to take a break from comedy for 3 months. 3 months. I took a step back to I went through an identity crisis. I'm like, look, if I'm not funny, if I can't make people laugh, then what good am I? Who am I if I can't make people laugh? Right? Part of this, I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, it wasn't math. I didn't understand why the same jokes that I told in front of other people didn't work in front of these people. So I hit up, I have a cousin that does comedy too. Conversation with him, I was telling him about it, and it was like, bro, you just bombed, man. That's all that was. It's part of the process. Every comedian bombs at some point. You just gotta keep doing it though. You gotta keep doing it, you know. Um, Failure is an important part of the process, especially for comedy. Especially for comedy. Because that failure made me retool, come back stronger. And it was like, man, just go out there and just keep doing it, bro. Don't overthink it. I was in my head. I overthunk it. Overthunk should be a word, by the way. If you have some time on your hands, email Merriam-Webster, and we'll get the sick. Overthunk should be in the dictionary. Um, so I went back out there. I went to a different comedy club this time, and I did those same jokes. It wasn't a lot of laughter, but for me, I just gotten over the hump, getting past this first big initial setback. And now I can just plow through it. And other things will come up along the way. People may try to discourage you or tell you this joke isn't funny or that joke isn't. Look, just like with anything else, man, you just got to keep doing it. It takes time to be great. And now I'm a few years deep in comedy. I'm still kind of new at it, but I'm starting to find my feet finally, you know, because now it's like I'm not looking for I'm trying to build a set. I'm building a structure of jokes that I can tell together in 10 minutes and 15 minutes. And I've done certain jokes enough times in front of people that I know that they work. You know what I mean? Fucking comedy, man. It's a lot more, there's a lot more to it than people realize. It's a lot more than just telling jokes. COVID, man. Going back to COVID, because a lot of things I started doing, a lot of things that I had postponed for so long during COVID. That's why I'm going back to COVID again. Comedy is one of them. Music is another one. I love music. I love music, but I'm someone that I always thought that music is something that musicians do, and it's this spec that certain people have. Um, then I realized, oh shit, you just got to learn how to do it. Um, and as long as you have a voice, you can be a musician. And rap, I never thought I could rap. I never thought I could rap. Now I'm a SoundCloud rapper. You know what I'm saying? I'm not there, man. I'm just podcasting right now. See what else I got written here. I want to, like, since we're on this theme of starting new things, I wanted to speak on this idea of being a perfectionist, right? So certain people want things aligned a certain way. The best case scenario has to be available before they pursue something. And I spoke about this a little bit earlier. I just want to reiterate this, that there is no best case scenario. There is no, I'm ready now, therefore now I'm going to do it. You really got to begin before you're ready. And this idea of like, oh, I'm a perfectionist and I need, when I do things, it just got to be perfect. And I don't subscribe to that. I subscribe to everything has a process, right? So yeah, as I was saying earlier, I don't think a single person starts something new without wanting to be good at it, right? I'm starting podcasting now. Yeah, I would like to be good at podcasting. Am I going to be excellent my first time? Probably not. Why? Because it takes years to be excellent. Am I going to show some potential here today? Probably. I probably have enough here to start to be like, okay, I see what I did here today. I'm going to take this and grow. How can we grow from here? So rather than waiting for a best case scenario, I encourage anybody listening to just look at what you have around you right now, what resource you have, what people you have in your life at this moment, and put those things together in a way that you can accomplish what it is you're trying to do. Are you going to be great the first time you do it? Yeah, you might strike gold the first time around, but that's a gift and a curse. Yeah, because you may get that initial feedback, oh, I'm great at this, like I did with comedy, only to get like that moment of realization, that moment of truth later on. Or you can start out, show some potential, and then just really be patient with yourself and understand that it's a journey, it's a process to be great at anything, anything, anything. You know, what we talking about here? Practice? I think we're talking about practice, yo. So that's all I got today, man. I hope y'all enjoy this and everything. You know, it's 8:40 p.m. Central Time in California, and I've been doing this for about 40, a little over 40 minutes now. I hope y'all enjoy this. I hope someone might listen and try something new. Try that one thing that you've always wanted to do. You just need one reason. It's your bro. Peace and love.